Hey everybody, Dakota Morgan here, you guys' favorite podcaster, YouTuber, gamer, animal caretaker, and comic book writer. I'm here for another episode of the Writing Tips. Yes, I have with me my coffee, my classic T-Rex mug. You hear me talking about it and drinking out of it when I'm doing my gaming. I want them to take it. Coffee. So here, guys, I am talking to you about another episode of the Writing Tips. And this is for... Let me get my notes. My notes! Fantastic notes. I believe, if chronologically order speaking, this is the first episode. So if you guys are listening on, let me get business out of the way first. So if you guys are listening on the Comic Chronicle podcast, make sure you guys subscribe. Stay tuned for more and stuff like that. We have more interviews coming up. If you guys are not and you're watching this on the video format, you guys can check it out on Dakota Morgan YouTube page, Dakota Morgan YouTube page for my gaming, animal caretaking, and writing tip videos. As well on there, you guys can get those. And if you guys want to, subscribe to the Comic Chronicle podcast if you're watching on YouTube, because I do interviews as a comic writer. I do interviews with people from all over comics, such as writers, artists, actors who play comic book characters, and more. We've had on some fucking celebrities, let me tell you. You guys can check it out on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, and comicchronicle.podbean.com. Without further ado, let's get into the writing tips part of this, because we all have them, and anything we do for a storyteller, such as myself, I have 7 comic books out there, let me tell you. So I've definitely written these folks. Guys and girls, by the way, too. Girls make kick-ass versions of these. And that's villains. Villains make something of your story. They make it something great. They make it wonderful. They make it captivating. And you know what? Everybody loves a goddamn villain. Sometimes more than the hero, one might add. So I got my notes over here. I want to take a look. First up for the writing tips is relatability. You want your... Now, before I get any further, this does cover comic books, film, television, and video games. If you really, really want to take it that route, you guys can take it that route. Relatability. You want your villains to be relatable. General Zod, he was relatable. Much fucked as he was relatable. Like... This is because we had Superman in the back there. Yes. Pay no mind to the leash and the muzzles. What happens when you're an animal caretaker and work at an animal hospital? You have lots of shit like that. So, Batman, Joker. Joker is sometimes relatable. And he's the exception. He's the exception. We have, Carl Denham from King Kong. I got a classic King Kong poster back there from Ann Faraday. One of the, original movies. We have that. Everyone was Violator. He's not... Makes a good villain, but is he relatable in the sense he just wants to do good? So even, outlandish characters from hell or space or a goon or something like that, they're all relatable. They have something that you can attach to, and you're like, holy shit, that's me. I can relate to that because I've had this situation happen to me before, or I'm currently going through something like that, or I've seen someone do something like that. That sort of stuff there will make or break your shit. It really would. Now, first up here, next up, actually, we have not cheesy. This depends on your story and what you're trying to tell. If you're doing a cheesy as hell storyline, then by God, make a cheesy villain, go right ahead. It's all on you, sweetheart. But, if you are looking at doing something more along the lines of serious and stuff like that, don't make your villain cheesy. Don't be like, hey, Waluigi. Don't do that. Don't do a Waluigi bullshit. No. Keep it serious, the relatability, like I mentioned before, and a few other things you keep in mind here. You keep watching the video. Keep in mind for those as well. You're really going to want to check it out. And cheesiness never really suits your villain of I'm going to freeze the world, Batman. What the fuck? Thanos, was he cheesy? No, he just wanted fucking everyone to survive, so snap the fucking universe away. It's just how it goes. There's so many villains. Was Vader cheesy? No. He was just badass. Emperor, kind of. But, we don't get into that. Godzilla villains, were they cheesy? Yeah, but they were meant to be cheesy. I love Godzilla, I love Kaiju, because fucking hell, I have comic book series Operation Kaiju Shield. But they're not really cheesy. So next up we have here is have cemented history with valid reason of the way they are. So that is correct. You want your villains to have a background and a history of... And very cemented, by the way, not No. Fuck that shit. You have to have something concrete. You have to have something cemented in the background Because they're not just going to be like born out of the womb. Mama, death, evil. It doesn't work like that. It does not work like that. Or you're going to be like something traumatic has to happen to them, or they believe a certain thing, or they saw a certain situation and shit like that, and they believe they're in the right. That's the thing you have to watch out for on that one. So villains in that sense they have to have a good reason, and it has to derive from their history. The history could be a flashback, it could be something like that, or it's like, here's this thing here, and then, oh, flash forward in 5 years. Like, you don't know. It could be any of that, but they have to have a reason why. Make it traumatic, make it saddening, make it depressing, you know. It has to be that for them. Otherwise, if it's like, well, this was a happy moment, actually, and that villain's the throne, it's like, no matter what, and that goes back to, that ties into the relatability. You want to be able to have your villains to relate, so the audience members, or reader, whichever it is, or player if it's video games. But when that traumatic thing happens, the person that's looking at that villain, you want them to be like, oh my god, I see why. I see why this person's bad. Or, oh my god, this person's right to be angry. Or, this thing is right to be angry. Or whatever, maybe monster, whatever the hell, alien. So it's like, you know, you have that thing there of this person is correct in being angry with themselves and being angry with the world or this person or other thing. So it's got to have that happen there. Next, and actually lastly here, we have them win. This is something that you don't often see and has now become a thing. Infinity War did it, but a few things did it beforehand. Is have your villain win. You have to have your villain win. Now, I'm not meaning in the sense you do a whole movie and they win. MCU did it. But they've done that for 10 years. They had a 10-year background. I'm saying your villain can't just be like, I'm going to do this, and he never fucking does it. You cannot do that. Because it's a cheesy... It goes back to cheesiness. It goes back to relatability. It goes back to all that sort of stuff like that. Like, have your villain win a little bit. Have your villain kill a few characters. Have your villain do the traumatic event they're going to do here. Have them do that. And then you go in and have the hero win. Or the villain die. Or whatever the hell. Maybe both die. That's a good story, actually. But or whatever you find and shit like that, they lose. So have them do that. So you have to have them win. You have them win for at least one time, maybe two if you want to push it. That's really good. Because otherwise, what's the point? Like, they tried, and the hero's like, I'm a hero. It's like going back and killing baby Hitler. Oh, you killed baby Hitler. But yeah, but I'm a hero. You didn't do anything. You just killed a baby, asshole. Oh. That's what that's like. You know, like, it's good. Yeah, you did it. And you probably saved a shit ton of people, but you just stopped them before they did anything. So it's like, why were you're kind of the asshole then. Like, Punisher's not a really good example. But yeah. So that's the writing tips I have. These are basic seed knowledge and whatnot. I have one coming up for how to write dinosaurs, because I have a dinosaur comic book. And I'm a big adamant for that sort of stuff. So this is just the seeds planted and whatnot for writers out there, like myself, who want to maybe need a little bit of help or something along the way. So I wanted to get this out there on YouTube and then also on the Comic Chronicle podcast. Go subscribe to that. And subscribe on YouTube. And give you guys something to help out for future writers out there. Or writers currently who may or may not just be stuck in something. Like a little funk. We all get it. Writer's funk. It's a bitch. Coffee helps. It really does. Thanks everyone for tuning into this episode of Writing Tips, wherever you're listening or watching on and whatnot as well. And without further ado, make sure you guys subscribe on whatever you're doing on. Subscribe to the Dakota Morgan YouTube channel or the Comic Chronicle podcast on wherever you listen to podcasts. If you want to follow me on social media, I'm at Dakota Morgan 3 on Twitter or at Dakota_Morgan97 on Instagram for all the podcast stuff I do and everything knowledge. You know the drill. Thanks everyone for tuning into this episode. Hopefully you like it, and leave a like if you do. Thanks everyone for tuning into this episode, and without further ado, with my classic catchphrase, I am saying, stay creative.